Hi. I'm a little hoarse right now, so please excuse me if I sound pretty raspy right now. I'm going to be speaking on um, racism. I think a lot of people feel that we're in a post era that racism doesn't exist because we have had the first black president elected twice here in America. But I think racism is alive and well, not just in America, but globally. I think racism comes into play with immigration, with the killing of Christians in Iraq, and the heinous acts that ISIS are inflicted on Christians there. I think you can see racism in a whole lot of different areas. But I would like to say that I think it is alive and well, and it's really sad because we're always interfering with other countries about their human rights. What about the human rights in America? Um, so I'll just get started with some of the things that I've learned on my journey putting this exercise together. I learned that in 2009, CNN.com reported that the number of hate groups grew by 54% since 2000. Obama election win fueled some of uh, the hateful people, I would say, to join hate groups. Study have found that the FBI Uniform Crime Reports found uh, that 7,624 hate crimes uh, incidents occurred in 2007. Obama is a visual aid that helps lure new members, says a neo Nazi member. I would like to say that I was never taught to hate people because of the color of their skin. I was raised to understand that there's good and bad in all races. You take people as they are. If they're kind to you, then you're kind to them. And if they're hateful to you, then you still love and pray for them. It doesn't mean they have to be in your life, but you still pray for them. Um, I I know a lot of people think and will say that we should get rid of affirmative action. I think that's racist. I think affirmative action still needs to be into play for jobs as well as interests going into colleges. I think that's important where you have a diverse culture, a learning in some institutions that never allowed people of color into their establishments. So I feel that that's very important. Um, I feel that not giving people a chance to prove that they can do something because of their race, I think that's racism in itself. Um, I have three kids that are all college educated. And sometimes people look at them in a certain way because they don't know them or know anything about their background. I personally came from a one parent household, um, but my grandfather and my uncles were like my role model because my father wasn't in my life. So I was taught to treat people how you wanted to be treated, no matter the color of their skin. I would like to um, read something that racism is a global issue as well. Um, Racism is the belief that characteristics and abilities can be attributed to people simply on the basis of their race, and that some racial groups are superior than others. That is not true. Everybody is, nobody is superior to anybody. We all bleed the same blood. We're all human beings, and we should be treated as such. Racism and discrimination have been as powerful weapons encouraging fear and hatred of others in time of conflict, wars, and even during economic downtimes. Um, when the unemployment rate was so large, my family was affected. A lot of members of my family were affected. They lost their jobs, and they feel that it was because of their race. Some of them have been in their jobs for over 20 years. Um, and I do believe that when there's and I've experienced it for myself in my workplace, when there's a downward spiral and they need to cut costs, people of color are the first to go, and I've experienced this in my life. Racism is always a very touchy subject, but I feel we need to talk about it to get over it. I feel that it needs to be addressed, and solutions should be made of how do we get past it and how do we coexist with one another, because nobody's going back to Africa. I don't even like the term African American because I've never stepped foot in Africa. I don't know anything about their culture, their heritage, nothing about it. I see myself as just an American. Some people may not agree with me, but that's how I look at it, at life. Um, some people will argue that talking about supporting radical discrimination and prejudice is just words, and that free speech should allow you to free speech. Our First Amendment allows you to feel a certain kind of way, but I feel that racism is taught. You aren't born with that. Um, and it's sad because I feel like racism has gotten worse since Obama became president. And it should be interesting to see if we're ever going to have a woman president, because it has been more crimes and hate in America since Obama's been here. I think some of the racism is in is rooted in certain organizations. Is rooted in certain fraternities. Is rooted in some companies that they feel that if you have a certain name, Shaquita, or a lot of different names that uh, black folks name their children, they're automatically pushed at the back of their applications are put at the back of the line just based on their names, and when they don't know anything about them. If they've had other jobs that they were very good at, if they have education that's outstanding, and I think America should be setting more examples of how we can all coexist with one another. I also keep something that was written by Nelson Mandela. And his life is extraordinary, the way he was treated. And for over 20 some years, he was a prisoner. And it said, I would just like to conclude with this message from Mr. Our late great Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. He said, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People learn to hate, and if they can learn and be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." And I think people should remember that when they have attitudes about certain people of color, not just black people, but anyone that's not Anglo-Saxon. I think you should open your heart and try to love one another. And that concludes my vision, my interpretation, and my feelings on how racism is alive and well in America. Good night.